I want to start off our NFL conversation with you with what Cam Newton had to say after yesterday's big win for Carolina. They're 2-5. He didn't have much to say after getting hit in the head over and over again. His dad did the speaking after that. Now, Steve, you're on the Player Safety Advisory Board, correct? The one that John Madden's on. What do you make of this, Steve? What do you take out of this?
We were watching it when I was doing highlights. You had gone home already, and I was still working highlights last night. And we watched them, and he was dressed pretty well for this interview. But I'm listening to him, and I hear him because we had this conversation, didn't we, after the first game when he got hit several times repeatedly in the head.
Right.
Remember?
Well, those, as he was pointing out, Steve, those were him scrambling out of pocket, and he said that's one thing. This one, in terms of protecting in the pocket, Calais Campbell comes right in on that part of his leg that after Kimo Van Olhoffen knocked Carson Palmer out of a game almost a decade ago. That's supposed to be a flag there, Steve.
That's why I'm listening to Cam, because he's the MVP of the league, and that doesn't – I give you more of a right than anybody else to state your claim, but – we try to protect our we have to protect our quarterback. So we don't allow anybody to hit him in the head. We don't allow anybody to hit him in the legs when they're in the pocket. And we allow them to throw the ball away. And we allow them to slide. And believe me, we're talking about this on our Player Safety Advisory panel because we're getting guys hurt when they're sliding. All right, Tony Romo broke his back when he was sliding.
Alex Smith,
that's how he's out.
Alex Smith
got
yesterday.
hit twice with concussion sliding. So we've got to figure out, and I don't want to put skirts on these guys or that saying whatever they make, whatever they say, but we have to protect our quarterbacks, and so. Let's look at this. Cam is – people have been called for roughing the passer more on Cam than anybody since he's been in the league. But it hasn't happened a lot lately. Last year and this year it hasn't happened as much as his first 2 years. So I think he's got a legitimate gripe. I really do.
So what do you think the Players Safety Advisory Board, when you all get together and you hear an MVP of the league say, I need to be protected in the pocket, which he was not yesterday. You see Calais Campbell apologize to him after that hit was not flagged. I mean, what do you guys talk about when you get together, if you can reveal
talk about the rules and how the rules are interpreted. You can't hit him in the legs, but sometimes when guys are flying in there and they get blocked into their legs or they've left their feet and there's no way to avoid it, then you got to be lenient and smart on some of these rules. So I'm sure they're all going to be looked at every way, shape, and form of protecting a quarterback in the off season, because we can't have teams with their third quarterback and fourth quarterback and fifth quarterback playing. We're concerned about our viewing audience. We're concerned about, obviously, the health of these guys, but it's just not good for the game when our quarterbacks are getting hurt, and so let's protect them.
Well, on Sunday Night Football last night, Steve, our soon-to-be Thursday Night Football compadre, we'll see in Tampa, Tony Dungy said that, he agreed with Cam, but he thinks that Cam shouldn't be the one saying it. It should be the coach, the owner, others who are behind the scenes making these lobbies. What can a coach do? What can a coach do in these situations? Every game, a coach who's designated on each team fills out a report and essentially grades the officials. Not so much grades the officials, but will mark down certain plays and say, hey, I would like an interpretation on this play. We think it's this, and it was called this. And then you might have 2 or 3, you might have none, you might have 12 plays where, hey, we don't agree with the call. Let's have a further explanation. So that dialogue will go on if you want to take the time to question officials' calls. And that's, of course, confidential. And so that's how it's always handled. Seldom do you see a guy like Josh Norman or Cam, call out the officiating and that sort of thing. Oftentimes it leads to a fine and blah, blah, blah. But I think Cam is pretty darn frustrated because he's been taking a beating this year. He just came off a concussion.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.